Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into an issue that might sound like the plot of a low-budget disaster movie, but I assure you, it's far more real. The potential collapse of several Asian countries by 2025. That's right, 2025, not some distant future we can all comfortably ignore. We're talking economic instability, political turmoil, social unrest, and a whole host of other issues that could send these nations spiraling faster than a durian fruit falling from a tree. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to take a closer look at some of the Asian giants teetering on the edge of a potential crisis, explore the factors pushing them towards the brink, and try to understand what a collapse might actually look like. Because, let's face it, understanding a problem is the first step towards, well, if not exactly solving it, then at least having a good long cry about it, and then maybe some snacks. First up on our whirlwind tour of potential economic calamities is China, a country that's been touted as the next global superpower for, well, what feels like centuries now. China boasts the world's second-largest economy, a population larger than a Taylor Swift concert audience, and enough manufacturing prowess to churn out plastic novelty items faster than you can say made in China. But beneath that shiny, factory-fresh exterior, cracks are starting to show. Remember that whole second-largest economy thing? Turns out it's been slowing down like a panda after a particularly hefty serving of bamboo. What is catastrophic, however, is the mountain of debt China's been busy accumulating, a mountain so high it would make Everest blush. We're talking about a debt-to-GDP ratio that's well over 250%, which in economic terms is roughly equivalent to ordering everything on a restaurant menu, including the decorative plants, and then realizing you left your wallet at home. This debt is largely fueled by China's insatiable appetite for infrastructure projects, many of which seem to have been conceived by someone who just really loves concrete. And then there's the housing crisis, a problem so enormous it makes the Great Wall of China look like a Lego project. Years of speculative building have resulted in ghost cities, vacant apartments, and a real estate bubble that's threatening to pop harder than a balloon at a clown convention. The country's also grappling with an aging population, the result of that whole one-child policy thing they had going on for a while. Now they're facing a shrinking workforce and a growing elderly population which, in demographic terms, is like trying to run a marathon while carrying a sack of potatoes on your back. And as if all that wasn't enough, let's not forget the political instability. The current regime isn't exactly known for its embrace of transparency, accountability, or, basic human rights. So, to sum it up, China's facing a perfect storm of economic woes, demographic challenges, and political uncertainty. Is it enough to bring the whole house of cards tumbling down? Only time will tell. Let's zoom in, shall we, on one particularly precarious aspect of China's economic ecosystem, the real estate sector. For years, China's economy has been fueled by a construction boom of epic proportions. We're talking cities built from scratch, skyscrapers sprouting like bamboo shoots after a monsoon, and enough concrete poured to pave a road to the moon. Probably. But this building frenzy has created a bubble, and not the fun kind you play with at birthday parties. This bubble is fueled by speculation, easy credit, and a belief that property prices will keep rising forever. But like a game of Jenga played by someone with very shaky hands, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing comes crashing down. And when it does, the consequences could be devastating. Just look at Evergrande, a real estate giant that's become the poster child for China's property woes. This company, once a symbol of China's economic might, is now drowning in a sea of debt, estimated to be around $300 billion. That's more money than the GDP of some small countries. Numerous other developers are facing similar struggles, and the ripple effects are already being felt throughout the Chinese economy. Construction projects are stalling, home buyers are left in limbo, and local governments, which rely heavily on land sales for revenue, are starting to sweat more than a dim sum chef in a heat wave. But it's not just the big developers who are feeling the heat. Ordinary Chinese citizens, many of whom have poured their life savings into property, are facing the very real possibility of losing everything. Because, see, in China, homeownership isn't just about having a place to live, it's about social status, financial security, and the ability to attract a mate. The government is trying to contain the damage, but it's like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. The question isn't whether the bubble will burst, but when and how big the explosion will be. Now let's shift our gaze from the behemoth that is China to the island nation of Sri Lanka, a country often described as a teardrop falling from the Indian subcontinent. But these days, that teardrop is looking less like a symbol of beauty and more like, well, a tear of despair. You see, Sri Lanka is facing an economic crisis so severe, it makes the plot of a Charles Dickens novel look like a lighthearted romp. We're talking about a country that's run out of foreign currency, which is a bit like showing up to a potluck dinner with an empty Tupperware container and a whole lot of hope. This lack of foreign currency means Sri Lanka can't pay for essential imports like fuel, food, and medicine, leading to shortages, power cuts, and lines longer than the ones you'd find outside a Supreme store on drop day. So how did Sri Lanka, a country known for its stunning beaches, lush tea plantations, and questionable cricket umpiring decisions, end up in this mess? Well, it's a potent cocktail of factors, all shaken together with a generous dash of government mismanagement. First, there's the issue of excessive borrowing. Sri Lanka went on a bit of a spending spree, racking up huge debts to fund ambitious infrastructure projects, many of which haven't exactly lived up to their initial hype. It's like buying a top-of-the-line sports car when you can barely afford to put gas in it. Then there's the pandemic, which hit Sri Lanka's tourism industry harder than a rogue coconut falling from a palm tree. And tourism, my friends, is to Sri Lanka what pizza is to New York City, a vital source of income and a key part of its identity. Add to that a series of questionable economic policies, including a ban on chemical fertilizers that backfired faster than a cheap firework, and you've got yourself a recipe for disaster. Now, Sri Lanka is desperately seeking international aid, knocking on the doors of the IMF and other countries like a student trying to borrow money the day before rent is due. Whether they'll get the help they need remains to be seen. Now let's talk about an issue that's often overlooked amidst the flurry of economic indicators and political squabbles: the environment. Because here's the thing, while economic collapse is terrifying, environmental collapse is downright apocalyptic. It's like the difference between losing your phone and losing the ability to breathe oxygen. And unfortunately, for many Asian countries, environmental catastrophe isn't some distant threat, it's a very real and present danger. We're talking about deforestation on a scale that would make even the Lorax reach for his noise-canceling headphones. We're talking about soil erosion so severe, it's like the ground itself is giving up and heading for the coast. And we're talking about pollution so bad, it's enough to make you long for the days of leaded gasoline. Take Indonesia, for example, a country known for its stunning biodiversity, its delicious instant noodles, and its unfortunate tendency to be on fire. Years of rampant deforestation, driven by the insatiable demand for palm oil, timber, and other natural resources, have left Indonesia's rainforests decimated. And it's not just the orangutans and Sumatran tigers that are suffering. Deforestation is a major contributor to climate change, which, in turn, is causing more extreme weather events, rising sea levels, and a whole host of other problems that are about as welcome as a swarm of mosquitoes at a picnic. Then there's Bangladesh, a country that's basically a giant delta sitting at the front lines of climate change. Rising sea levels are threatening to inundate vast swaths of land, displacing millions of people and turning what was once fertile farmland into something resembling a saltwater swimming pool. The point is, environmental degradation is a threat multiplier. It exacerbates existing problems like poverty, inequality, and social unrest, making an already precarious situation even more volatile. So, there you have it, a whirlwind tour of some of the biggest challenges facing Asia today. It's enough to make you want to curl up in a ball and hope for the best. But look, the future is not yet written. Whether these Asian giants stumble and fall, or manage to navigate these treacherous waters, remains to be seen. It depends on a complex interplay of factors, from government policies to global economic trends, to the choices we make as individuals. So, let's stay informed, engage in constructive dialogue, and maybe, just maybe, we can help steer these giants away from the brink.